A few months ago, I did a video on narcissistic personality disorder, and it performed rather well. I mean, it's a sexy subject. We all think of our exes as narcissists. I had a guy say that he's been married 3 times to 3 narcissists. Maybe that's on him. A few weeks later, I did a video on a less sexier topic, but much more important: cognitive dissonance. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, you might want to watch the video by just clicking right here. If I had to break cognitive dissonance down into one description, it's us lying to ourselves to justify our actions or lack of action. I'll get more into that topic in a minute. That's why today we're discussing the relationship between a narcissist and cognitive dissonance. But stick around to the end because, well, in this story, I'm not going to end it with the happy-go-lucky Renee that I usually am. Rather, the pissed-off version of me. And I'll actually give you a glimpse as to when you know that you've won in the world of divorce. So let's start revving that engine. So today's ending has some pretty crazy stuff that gets personal, but before moving on, if you're going through a divorce or struggling to move on after your divorce, do 2 things. First, join our Facebook most badass and fastest growing divorce support group for men. It's free, it's confidential. Second, strongly look into hiring a divorce coach. Will simply make your life much easier. Just make a free one-on-one appointment with me. Both links are in the comment section of the video, so just click on the X, then the up-down arrow, and my links should be right there. Let's get back to the narcissist and the cognitive dissonance. Point is that the subject about your ex did much better, but the subject about ourselves, well, that's more concerning. Concerning because, well, it's good to understand certain personality disorders, interpreting the actions of our ex and diagnosing them, it may be counterproductive. We certainly want to know why they did certain things, but if your knee-jerk answer is because they're a narcissist, you may just be dismissing self-accountability, introspection, and self-development. We can all blame our ex and discount them as narcissists. Many of them lied, cheated, stole, all while you were being treated like shit. My ex, she certainly did, and I'll get into that later. I think it's their lack of remorse, though, that leads us to begin the diagnostic process. So what is a narcissist? Clinically speaking, a narcissist is a personality disorder where, well, the subject is just an overall bitch without remorse, empathy, and while they have deep need to be liked, they still have some grandiose imagination that they're better than others. Again, I'll get into that later. Here's the thing, many traits of a narcissist begin when they're prepubescent, and it further develops into adulthood. But if you want to understand a narcissist more and their personality, you can click and watch my video right there. What makes a narcissist is that they're selfish and manipulative mofos. What makes them even more dangerous is that they have this heightened sense of importance, but they have a strong urge to be liked. Then there's cognitive dissonance. As mentioned before, cognitive dissonance is a concept that started in the 1950s, and researchers, what they found is that when a person's conflicted by something, we make up excuses or trivialize something so that we can continue to do it. That way our guilt is minimized. The danger of this is that it often makes us lie to ourselves. On my video, Why Can't I Leave a Toxic Relationship, I make the point that we often stay in a relationship because of our cognitive dissonance. Your spouse, she treats you like crap. You blow it off and you blame yourself. Throughout the research, I kept coming into articles about how narcissists, they use cognitive dissonance to manipulate the normie like you and I. They're so good at it that at some point, our cognitive dissonance, it turns into confusion and it starts catching our imagination to the point that our own reality gets warped. And when this happens, we call it gaslighting, a term named after the 1920s movie where a husband, he tries to convince his spouse that she's going nuts. Why is it always the men? Cognitive dissonance is not gaslighting, although the two are synonymous. Cognitive dissonance, we make up excuses for our actions, such as if she treats you like shit, you had it coming. With gaslighting, however, our sense of reality is so warped because we've been lied to and we begin second-guessing and doubting ourselves. A narcissist abuse doesn't begin as pernicious as it ends. It starts off with few simple requests such as, hey, can you help me with this bill? You say, yes, perfect, they're grateful. But once you start questioning them, things may get out of control. And it may look like this. Hey, can you help me with this bill? Sure, what's it for? Man, you're always checking up on me. Why do I always have to come to you for money? As a divorce coach, while working with men, I can't help but stay surprised at how much cognitive dissonance many of these guys undergo. So many guys I speak to, they have an overwhelming amount of blame for her leaving. And when they tell their story, what led up to their split, I can't help but to think, she's highly unreasonable. But then again, these guys, these fellas, they blame themselves. Cognitive dissonance is everywhere. It was my own cognitive dissonance that kept me in the dark for 2 years as she cheated. And she almost got away with it. All the signs were there. Lingerie being moved around, money disappearing, visit to her gynecologist, most likely to get checked for an STD. But there was something that stopped me from ever thinking that she was having an affair. And it was the fact that she was such a bitch to me that it just had to be my fault. I mean, no human being in the right mind would sleep around, steal money, take trips across the country to see him while I take care of her kids and still treat the person wronged. Wrong. You just don't do that. I had to be the one causing this harm. Who would have ever thought that it was her secret lover who was sleeping around on her that caused her to take out her own frustrations out on me? But I blame myself. And that's the danger that I see most guys go through. Many only remember the good times and they start blaming themselves 100% for their breakup. I've had it. I've heard it and I've seen it. Even guys justifying their spouse's own infidelity. That's my problem with many of these get your spouse back programs. Many of them, they sell the dream and it's harmful to the individual because they can often use cognitive dissonance as a prey to keep you accountable. But uber accountability can turn into self-pity, guilt, and doubt. You pay to work to getting your spouse back rather than work on your future and begin to move forward. These programs, they use terms like, she's your family. You took an oath. They use terms like these to keep you hooked, and all while she goes out doing who knows who. You're still stuck in the denial phase, and it's heartbreaking. I know this personally because I was one of the yahoos that called asking for help years ago. These programs, they're not cheap, and the person that you're fighting for, she's already checked out. And I tell you that if I had paid for their service only to later find that she was the one boinking some yahoo, I'd really be more pissed. I just wouldn't have taken her back. She's washed up. So now you got the narcissist preying on the unsuspecting dissonant. The dissonant, they stay. They feel that it's their fault and therefore they have to stay in order to save their relationship. But do narcissists know what they're doing? Do they know that they're a bad seed? Remember that this is a personality disorder. It's not a test on character. Therefore, interestingly, research says that narcissists don't know that they're a bad seed. They actually believe their own bullshit. When dealing with a narcissist, don't try to prove them wrong. They're not capable of that. It's a personality disorder, and the reality is that they're never going to own up. They don't feel that they're wrong. There's always a reason for why they do things. But they do feel shame. So don't try to prove them wrong, but rather put them to shame. So here's the difference between a cheater that's a narcissist and someone that cheats, but is not a narcissist. In other words, someone that is using cognitive dissonance to cheat. The dissonant person would cheat, feel bad about it, and justify it by saying something like, my husband's never there for me, or he's probably cheating on me anyways. A narcissist, on the other hand, would cheat and not feel bad for it and think, shit, I'm cheating because I'm too good for this asshole. The narcissist is also a highly envious individual. They must be the center of attraction and they must win or at least feel as though they've won. Therefore, I suppose that your best revenge to them is your own success because that would hit them harder than it would hit a person who's not a narcissist. And they will try to destroy what you've built, even years after you're split. Now this leads me to a very personal story. It's one that I sat on for a bit, and I had to gather my thoughts because I had to know that if I was going to share, I had to know my true intent of why I'm sharing this. Is it gossip or is it important to the narrative? When I first initially got this information, I laughed it off, gave it no significance. I did nothing. I didn't show my ex any importance and I just let it go. But unlike 3 years ago, today I have a voice and I have a duty to my other lads that are going through this to share because they're still working on their voice. I want them to take something out of this. I want you to know that something so significant will become so trivial when you yourself evolve and when you find your own voice. Moreover, people like Gano, otherwise my ex, otherwise Daira, they shouldn't be allowed to get away with this. No person should, and she hasn't been held accountable for shit. So, for these 3 reasons, here it goes. Since our split, she and I, we never spoke or saw each other since. Not even during the divorce did we communicate. So almost 3 years go by since our split, and she and her friends, they're already blocked on my social media. But clearly, considering that I have a good-sized audience here, she's understandably nervous that my videos, they're going to get viewed by those close to her. So at the beginning of our split, I did what I coach other men to do, and just cut your losses and figure out your mission in life. And I have to say, it's been a hell of a fun ride. I moved on, I took my time, and now I'm at the beginning of a loving and committed relationship with someone that's my equal. But somehow, I've been stalked because as soon as I post something about my girlfriend, she proceeds to reach out to my new and unsuspecting sweetheart. According to Gano, she reached out to my girlfriend because, as she put it, there's 2 sides to every story. No, Gano, there's only one side of the story, the truth, and I have every piece of evidence to show it. So stop messing with my family. You had your chance, you blew it. Let it go. It's over. And fortunately, very fortunately, you let me go. And I'm grateful for that. But your story backfired because Anna, my girlfriend, she felt your real purpose, your hatred, your envy, all through your voice. All of that negative energy. Your stories, they just didn't add up. So, as you know, she hung up and then proceeded to block you. According to her words, you're an uglier human being than I described you. Gents, I don't know, nor do I care if my ex is a narcissist. I just don't give a shit, and frankly, you shouldn't give a shit either. Maybe it is narcissism that drives them to do some very stupid shit like calling your new significant other. Or maybe it's cognitive dissonance that leads them to trivialize the stupidity of their action. Either way, be glad that you're done with it. Be glad that you're done with this shit. I think my ex's insecurities got the best of her as she thought that she was the best that I could do. I think she freaked out when she saw that she's not only been forgiven, but pretty much forgotten. Earlier, I also mentioned how narcissists, they have a deep need to be liked. The fact that she reached out to my significant other to explain to her that there are 2 different sides to a story is pretty much classic. And I'm certain that if she were to be asked that if this backfired or if she would do anything different, she would say that she wouldn't do anything different. So gents, I hope that you got something from this today. And if you're in need of a divorce coach, because you just shouldn't do this alone, make a free one-on-one appointment. The information is right in the comments section, along with joining our free divorce support group for men on Facebook. It's free and confidential. Thank you very much.